Hello, here's Andreas guitarist from Sepultura, and you are on Guitar Mania channel.
Andreas, welcome to the birth town of Austrian filmmaker Fritz Lang.
Great.
I understand his film Metropolis has been influential in the creation of the new record.
Yes, basically the phrase, more than the movie itself was the main inspiration. The mediator between head and hands must be the heart. It's a long phrase for an album title, but it was so strong, the meaning of it, at least the way we portrayed, the meaning of the phrase, and of course the movie, it's very powerful. It's considered the first science fiction, in history, and the things that they achieved, like special effects and all that stuff was still amazing. It's almost like a miracle.
Yeah.
With all the futuristic, idea of everything, and it's very prophetic in a sense,
Yeah.
And people being robotized, just working, no fun, for just a few people in the Gardens of Eden, really to enjoy everything, and it's basically what we see, nowadays. So we kind of made that parallel, between that image and that phrase, and really not to lose our human ability, which is the heart, like pulsing, giving us the ability to protest, to argument, to say no, to say yes, and not really accepting everything like a robot, in your head, and then act in your hands, without having that ability really, to protest and to ask questions and stuff like that, and it seems nowadays we are losing more and more that kind of power, and really accepting too much everything that comes, Internet at the same time brought a lot of new ideas, new concepts, alternative press and stuff, but it seems that everything that comes on the internet is true, so
Yeah.
I don't believe in everything, and I believe in everything, that kind of vibe. I mean, you have to really give room and give a chance, to a different concept. Crazier that might be, it can really bring some light to a topic and stuff, and I think the phrase and the movie really shows that, and we wrote the lyrics all around that, not to lose this human ability, not to lose the human capacity, that we have.
Mm-hmm. How important is Latin America for you guys? I mean, in terms compared with Europe and the United States.
I don't know. It's just the place that we come from. We grew up. Although my whole family comes from a European root. My grandma and grandpa from father's side, they came down to Brazil in the 20s from Germany. And my mother and my grandma and grandpa, of course, the whole family came from Slovenia in 1949, after the Second World War, to start a new life and everything, So, but we grew up in Brazil, which is a mixture of so many different cultures. A lot of the slaves, that came with the Portuguese colonization, and all the music. I think it's very artistic, place. Brazil, Argentina, Chile, all the countries down there, and I think it's important for that we see the world in a different way, not necessarily better or worse. It's just different, the different taste and different ways of playing music and portraying the world. And Brazil grew up so much, in this last 10 years, like. A lot of stuff got better, but the corruption came together. So that's our main problem. Really, is corruption. Like in Venezuela, like in Ukraine. They all seem the same. Seems to be the same city almost.
Let us turn to the music. We would be interested, particularly on how you laid down the guitars for the new album, which approach did you follow? Did you do did you double the guitars and did you play them all in one go? Were there any first takes? What was your approach in recording?
It was basically the whole process of recording was kind of the same for drums, guitars, bass, and vocals. You know, we worked with Ross Robinson again, which we did Roots together back in '95, and his way of recording it's the way we love to do it. You know, very open, very organic, not really too much attached to the machines. You know, we didn't work with the metronome for the drums. You know, everything was really loose, trying to find our own pulse. You know. So yeah, I think the approach was that. I mean, we talk a lot about the music, about the title, where it came from, and why we are talking stuff like that, and really the time we record drums, you know, was like that. Was no attachment to any machine, just the pulse there, the whole band and the producer in a very small room recording everything.
So you recorded live, or
no, the drums first. Yeah. But it was like recording live, you know. At the time I found the guitar sound and stuff, was time to record the guitar, all that came back again. It was like he was in the room, you know, again. It was just like with the better sound and everything. So basically it was like playing live, you know, that was the idea. Even if you have like some small mistakes here and there, Ross didn't care, you know. I said, I mean, the whole thing here is not to be perfect, because there's no perfection, you know. I have a point of, maybe an idea what perfect is, and Eloy or Derek can have a different idea what perfect is, you know. So, and when you go to the studio, you have a tendency to do perfect stuff. Oh no, this have to be like ding, ding, you know, let's redo, and you lose totally the meaning of the music, you know. Right. It's like everything is chopped and everything is so mechanical, you know.
So it was important for you guys to capture the atmosphere.
Definitely. I mean, we always wanted to bring Sepultura on stage, you know, the live feeling to the studio, which is very hard because of that. You know, you have a tendency to listen to everything, to listen to your mistakes, and you start playing a little different, you know, to do a better approach. But I think this time we just let it really flow, you know, give me the guitar, let's jam, and that's it, you know.
Which amps did you use in the studio?
My main sound came from the Orange amp, which I'm using for the last 2 years now. And I'm very happy with it. It's the Rocker Verb 100, you know, Mark II, the head and the cabinets, and I'm very happy with the sound. Plus a combo, Vox combo, which is very, of course, Vox, you know, like, you know, that distortion, you know, very kind of, very vivid, you know. For one guitar was this sound, you know, Orange and Vox, you know, very 60s.
Interesting. And did you use then any pedals?
No, pedals, yeah, lots of pedals, but not for rhythm. I think the distortion, the saturation, the rhythm had to come, you know, with the combination of picking the strings of the guitar you use, the pickups, you know, the wood of the guitar, and then you put straight to the amp, and then you feel, you know. Yeah. I mean, in the studio we go always through the root, you know. And then, of course, you know, we use like, you know, we have like 30 pedals around the floor, and Ross was just like swimming around the pedals and, you know, connecting and stuff and trying to create different atmospheres, but not for the main sound. The main sound were the heads, you know. And of course I use some other stuff like, I think it was a Marshall head and a PV head, Van Halen, you know.
The 5150.
5150, and the new one, they just put it out, and some other stuff, you know, the Mesa Boogie stuff that I always have, you know. But the main sound really was that kind of organic, really, which is the sound I use now. You know, I don't have a distortion pedal. Right. You know, I just have the guitars straight into the head, and a wah pedal and a delay. You know, that's it.
We've also seen that you've got a new guitar at Chauvel.
Yeah, this is for the De La Tierra project, you know, for the band, which is an album that just came out. And me and the other guitar player, Andreas Jimenez, which is also the main singer, you know, we closed a deal with Jackson and Chauvel for this project, you know. Of course, Chevelle is, you know, it is my first real guitar, you know, that I had, that I started recording Sepultura, which I still have, you know, I still use in the studio. I use on the last album, you know, and everything. And I'm very happy to have this this opportunity, you know, to develop something new with them, you know. So I got 2 new instruments, you know, with the De La Tierra logo and stuff. They're, you know, they always did an amazing job, and but you know, they're still virgin guitars, you know. I just used both in a video clip, you know.
Okay.
I didn't really use them, you know, yet. So, I can't wait to start practicing, and we're gonna do a tour now in March and April. We're gonna open 4 shows for Metallica in South America.
Excellent.
In Colombia, Peru, Paraguay, and Ecuador. So 4 countries there. It's gonna be a great start, you know. And then we go to Mexico for a festival, and then in April, some United States, and you know, still managing the dates. But yeah, so it's gonna be the first time that I'm actually gonna use, you know, the guitars.
You're a very busy man. Actually, that was one of my next questions. The De La Tierra album that you just released.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the background? What's really the idea behind the band?
It started like like Andreas, you know, the guitar player and the singer, and Alex Gonzalez, which is a drummer from the super group in Latin America, Maná, you know, which is more a pop rock stuff. And it started with them, you know, just with the wish of jamming together, you know, because Alex, he does Maná, which is pop and everything, but he loves heavy metal, you know, the way he plays and the visual, that his stuff, you can, you know, you feel he really understands the music, and he's a metalhead, you know, he understands everything, he knows all the history, all the bands, so he always wanted to do something like that, to jam, you know. So like 8 years or 9 years ago, Andreas and Alex, they were talking backstage, you know, oh, let's, you know, rent a room and just play some Sabbath, some Judas Priest, whatever, you know, let's have a good time playing heavy metal. Okay, someday. And in 2012, they decided to go ahead and really do something more than a jam, you know, do a band that can play heavy metal and sing in Spanish, you know. So they called this bass player, Senor Flavio, which is also from a huge band in Latin America, the Fabulosos Cadillacs, which is nothing to do with metal as well. You know, it's more like a ska, a little hardcore punk, you know, vibe and stuff. And then the final one was me. You know, they want an extra guitar player. So Alex, which was the guy I had more contact, I knew them from, you know, the shows in Maná in Brazil and stuff, and he called me and he explained to me the whole idea, and I thought it was amazing, you know, it was a great challenge. I was so happy, you know, to be invited to something like that, you know, to start something new from scratch. It was not a reality show or a manager or a big sponsor that put together 4 well-known musicians to do some TV show, you know, it was nothing like that. We didn't have a manager, we didn't have a record label, we didn't have anything. The wish was just, you know, to be together and write music together, you know, and that's what De La Terra is all about, you know. So we started doing demos, exchanging by email, and finally we went to Buenos Aires to practice and to arrange the songs. We came up with 10 songs that we recorded. We financed everything ourselves, you know. Buenos Aires and São Paulo, we did everything between both cities, more in Buenos Aires, you know. And we came with the album done. We showed to Warner. They love it. You know, we signed with Warner Latin and Roadrunner, and we have a great booking agent also on CAA that, you know, putting together the tour. So now we're building this this crew, you know, like people on the stage and backstage and managers and stuff, and going out on the road for the first time.
Will you be coming to Europe?
Yeah, I mean, we have a Spanish festival in May 1st. I think we have a London gig on April 30th. And I'm still waiting for April, you know, to see what are the possibilities, you know. But yeah, definitely. I mean, the idea was not only to, besides singing in Spanish and Portuguese, was not only to focus on the Latin world, but everywhere, you know. I think Rammstein is a great example about that, you know, singing in German and being like a phenomenal success worldwide, you know, and without changing their native language, you know.
Andreas, let us return to Sepultura. And if I remember correctly, you once said that Sepultura would not exist if it weren't for the music of Slayer.
One of them, yes,
one
definitely.
of them. How important was, or had Jeff Hanneman, for instance, any influence on that?
Fundamental, you know. I think the way I play, the fast speaking, you know, Jeff Hanneman, Kerry King, James Hetfield, Kirk Hammett, Gary Holt, Rick Hunold, you know, Scott Ian, Dan Spitz, all those, you know, the bands, Dave Mustaine and stuff, you know, that really showed a new way of playing guitar, you know, very heavy, very straightforward, mixing rock and roll with punk, and, you know, it's, and Slayer was a band that really opened my head violently. You know, Hell Awaits, I think, was one of the first songs that I heard from Slayer right at the moment they were coming out, you know, back in '86 or so, no, before '85. And it was just so beautiful, you know, so aggressive, so well done, you know. And Sepultura on the beginning was very much, they compared too much Slayer and Sepultura, which for us was an honor, you know. But people said, they're just a cheap copy, whatever, and stuff, you know. And I won't deny that, you know, because you know, Slayer was really something very strong, especially, you know, after Raining Blood and stuff, was really something that shift, you know, a lot of the music ideas and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the importance is like that. Of course, all those bands and musicians I mentioned, you know, of course, together with Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, Purple, and, you know, all that stuff.
How did you develop your chops, I mean, and your skills? Did you play to the records, or did you have a teacher, or?
More playing, I never had like a guitar teacher, like an electric guitar teacher, let's say, you know. I always have like teachers on acoustic guitar, playing classical music or Brazilian popular music or choro, you know, different styles of Brazilian music, which I still do, you know. I love classical guitar. You know, actually, it's my first instrument is acoustic guitar. You know, I start playing guitar afterwards, and parallel to that, I never left. You know, the acoustic guitar, always studying. Of course, it's hard. You know, like playing and the nails and shit. You know, it's hard to keep studying as much as I would love to. You know, but guitar was really listening to those bands I just mentioned. You know, putting there the cassette tape or the vinyl, and really playing together, you know. And I learned a lot with Richie Blackmore, you know, Tony Iommi on pentatonics and stuff. And Yngwie Malmsteen brought, you know, something else. Randy Rhoads, Stevie Howe, you know. I learned so much with them, you know. So observation a lot. Of course, in Brazil, we didn't have the chance to see them live. We just like video clips, and, you know, it was very hard. There was no YouTube, nothing like that. It didn't exist those days, and also the imagination was much stronger than today. You know, we imagine all the bands perfect. You know, because on the album you have the studio tricks, everybody sounds great, but we learned later that was not like that to everybody. You know, actually most of them sound like crap on stage. You know, so. But for us, it was great that, because Sepultura was always wanted to be that level, you know, to play right and to perform on a stage and really try to do the best, you know. So I think that kind of imagination really helped us create our own style of playing, you know. Of course, listening to all those bands and stuff, but just like playing, you know, it's hard. I think every guitar player have a way of picking the pick, you know, or holding the pick, you know, and that's natural.
How do you hold the pick?
I don't know.
Is it like, do you have a closed? Do you close?
No, I think
your palm, or
just like this. I use a lot of this movement as well. You
so
know?
it's not from the wrist.
It's not the arm. It's just the wrist and this.
Also,
yeah.
Okay. Do you have any exercise or anything that you could recommend to someone who wants to improve his right-hand rhythm playing?
I think it's really hard, you know, to say, because like Steve Vai holds the pick in a way, Van Halen holds in a different way, and you know, I think that the tip is really to be more comfortable as possible. And also nowadays you have so many different picks, you know, like short ones, fat ones, you know, like small, big, and triangle, and all different shapes and sizes and stuff, you know. So take your time, really. Take your time and feel the best pick for you, and develop that, you know. You necessarily don't have to force that. I think you have really to find your own way of playing, you know.
You briefly, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, you briefly replaced Scott Ian with Andreas. Was it difficult to learn the tunes, or
no, man, that's part of my DNA, man. Like I said, you know, most of them I knew, you know, because I played those songs like when I was young, starting to play, you know, the garage with friends, Metallica, Anthrax, you know, Slayer, Def Leppard, everything, you know, Venom and Iron Maiden, you know. So I love to play those bands. I still play, you know. I have a band with my son, 16 years old, who plays guitar as well, and we play everything like that, you know. So it's a great school. You play different styles of lead and different styles of rhythm, you know. It's an amazing school, you know. So yeah, it's always with ears open, you know, trying to pick it up whatever I could.
What about the Beatles? You also played in Liverpool, and you've even got your own brick there.
Yeah, that was something really crazy too, man. It started like playing Beatles in Brazil with this group that they play Beatles basically to all their life, you know. They are very... It started with a radio show that only played Beatles and talk about the Beatles stories and stuff. And from the radio show, they create this band. And now they participate on the Liverpool Festival for 19 years in a row. They are on the Hall of Fame there and stuff, and very well respected on a festival. It's amazing, you know. And one of those these years, I think 2010 or 11, they invited me to be with them at Liverpool, you know, to do a special concert and stuff. Actually, we played in so many different places, you know, like John Lennon's school, and then the Cavern Club, and where Ringo Starr presented with Beatles for the first time, you know, with so many landmarks, you know, around that. It's great. So they invited me to play, and it was a great, you know, great shows, you know. It was really a good impact. And because of my story with Sepultura and stuff, they suggested my name to be on that amazing wall, you know, with so many legends and gods. And it was cool. I mean, they suggested my name, they accepted, you know, and I was so happy, you know, so honored to be the first Brazilian to be honored, you know, with the brick there, you know, just because my performance on the Cavern and the history with Sepultura and stuff. And it's great, man. I hope I can put Sepultura there someday to do a jam at the Cavern. It would be awesome.
Well, that would be definitely something to put into the documentary. And
fuck yeah.
And I understand the documentary will be released soon, or?
I hope so, yes. The idea is everything to be done at the end of 2014, you know, which is kind of the official date of the 30 years of Sepultura. So, but the director is still working on it. Actually, he's coming next week to follow us in Europe at the rest of this tour, you know, to collect images and to talk and stuff. So it's still going, you know. There's still some people that have to talk, and hopefully the Cavaleiros will be a part of it, you know, as well.
That was my question. I mean, it's a bit tricky and a sensitive one, of course, but...
Yeah, it's not tricky. I mean, we invited them so many times, and they came up with so many different excuses not to be a part of it. I mean, it's their choice. I mean, we cannot oblige them to... And the movie is not like to be any judgment or any parts, you know. It's just to show this amazing story of a South American group, you know, that conquered so many things outside Brazil. It's supposed to be a movie not only for the metal fan or Sepultura fan, but to anyone, you know, to see this trajectory that it's so unique, you know. And our interest here is not to point fingers or to say I'm right, I'm wrong. You know, that kind of battle doesn't lead you anywhere. You know, it's just to show what we are today, Sepultura 2014, what we are doing, what are they doing. You know, Max with his projects and Igor with his DJ stuff. Jairo, the first guitar player, he's makes amazing sculptures. You know, doing different stuff, and Gian has a studio in São Paulo, been working there. So, you know, to show the legacy and what are we doing now, you know. So anyway, I mean, hopefully they'll be a part of it. But still have some people in Brazil that we need to talk, and in New York, you know, key people that were very important throughout Sepultura career. But I think it's going to be very interesting, you know. It's a very interesting story, and hopefully the director will be able to tell.
I mean, it's a very personal question, but of course, I mean, how is your relationship with Max and Igor at the moment? I mean, are you guys...
I don't know, there's no relationship, you know. It's just like... I mean, with internet and Facebook and stuff, we open a lot of new possibilities, you know. And our families got more in touch. I know my wife, you know, get in touch with Max's son, you know, Zion and Igor and stuff, which is great, you know. I mean, there's no reason to be enemies just because we don't work together. But yeah, we far away, you know, because I live in Brazil, they live outside Brazil nowadays and doing very different stuff, and I mean, living different lives, you know.
Look, thank you so much, Andreas. We understand you're having here a great lineup with Legion of the Damned and Flotsam.
Definitely, yeah, it's great tour, really.
Great tour.
Very, very well, yeah.
Well, congratulations, and thank you so much, Andreas.
Thank you. Play it loud.